we've been working with APG for quite a while now, and I think it's really cool that a business that seems maybe a bit well, we're far away from that as a consumer. What are they doing with the pension money? Things are going quite well because the income is okay. But what are they doing? And what is the like pensions for the internet? What's that about? And what can blockchain do in that system? And you can do it in so many different ways, but honestly, if I see APG moving in this space as a corporate, I think banks have moved into blockchain first, but I think even they can learn a lot from how APG is looking to collaborate with startups without killing them. So I'm eager to learn from Hidde what their approach is and how they also want to work together with all the teams. So an applause for Hidde Terpoorten.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Rutger. I'm going to try to introduce APG and also explain how we try to kill not 95 but 90% of all innovative initiatives. First, APG indeed is in the pension business and actually quite big at that. So in the Netherlands, we're the biggest pension service provider, which means that we, on behalf of our clients, which are the pension funds in the Netherlands, manage pension administration for 4.5 million people and also 450 billion euros in assets. And those are normal traditional assets, no crypto assets yet, but maybe in the future. 3,200 people working for APG, so it's quite a large company, but that also means there's a lot of expertise within our walls. And I think that's what really helps us innovate and also what we try to bring to the table if we want to work together with other parties and do innovative experiments and projects. And we're also founding father and key member in the south of the Netherlands, the Brightland Smart Services Campus and the Decryption community, where we try to bring parties together, small and big, around blockchain, AI and climate change. But a bit more about that later on. So why do we do this? Why do we try to be an active member of the innovation ecosystem? And why do we, well, sponsor the Blockchaingers and be out and about? That's because we see a lot is happening also in the pension industry. We see that people are getting older, which means that pension is going to be maybe a little bit less than they expected. We see that people want to have more personal options, more personal choice. We also see in politics that a lot of political parties think about how we can change the pension system. So there's quite a lot happening. Also in the technology space, there's quite some trends and new technologies coming up. Blockchain, of course, but also AI, also data science, machine learning. So in this mix of trends in the pension sector, but also technological trends, we try to do experiments. And we experiment to see if we can do the stuff we always did a little bit better, or if we can do the stuff we always did for more people. So those are our goals. And those goals are very important because this is the basis for co-creation for us. So how do we experiment? We experiment on 3 horizons. The first is bringing little innovations, doing things a little bit better directly with the business. That's not what the innovation department is in. This is what the business has to do themselves. So on a bit, a horizon a bit farther out, so say 2 to 5 years and maybe 10 years ahead, we try to see what changes can we already distinguish and are getting to us. So where should we pay attention? And to see where we should pay attention, we try to experiment. And we experiment to test assumptions and validate assumptions. technological, but also validating with customers, with pension fund participants to see what works and what doesn't. So what makes a good chatbot? If somebody wants to know something about their pension, how can we make sure that they get the best service they can? You have to go to the customer. In blockchain, that's of course a little bit more difficult because testing assumptions on how you can use a very foundational technology to do pensions is a little bit more difficult, but there's where the hackathon last year really helped us with 2 teams doing exactly that, bringing blockchain to pension fund participants in the end. So what in all those experiments, they start with exploration, trying to find new ideas, and then validating and testing them, prototyping, making things, trying to see if it really works, if the idea really works. And between all those different phases are the stage gates, and that's where we kill projects. But to be honest, we're quite bad at that. So we don't kill 90 or 95% of our experiments. Actually, maybe we should kill more. But that being said, this is how it works, and this is also where we work together, and how we monitor our working relations with startups, but also with big corporates. This is how we manage our experiments. And at the end of the experiment phase, we see 2 options. Either we scale in, which means the innovation goes back to the business, or we scale out and we start a new venture. And some ideas or solutions work better when we just bring them back to the business and say, well, this is a pension blockchain, please go ahead and use it, because we think it's better than what you used before. Or we can start a new business, maybe more in the lines of Nasdaq, the winners of the Future of Pensions track last year. Horizon 3 is just observation, trying to work out how something works. So how, this is of course the funding deep dive, so how does working with APG look like? What we firmly believe that no matter who we work with, if it's internal people or external, if it's a startup or a big tech company, it always starts with the team. So what we try to make very sure is that the team itself is aligned on what they try to do, and that we are aligned on what they try to do. So going back to our innovation vision, what we try to make sure as soon as possible that the problem or the experiment they want to work on aligns with that vision. And what we then try to do is empower them as much as possible to make their own choices, to do as they like, and give them as much freedom as possible to really be innovative, be bold and creative, think big, and empower them to do so, by all means. Then, of course, they come back to one of those stage gates, and we check back with them if they're on the right track, if we still think it's a believable story, if they're on the right track, if they're doing the right things, and we can move on. And this is also where the funding happens. So at a stage gate, the team presents what they did, but they always come with a plan for what's next and what do they need next. So in this way, we also try to break down this process of innovation, if I might call it that, into a bit more manageable blocks. Because what we see is that that really helps in a corporate environment. So not present them, okay, this is blockchain, this is going to change everything. We need 50 million for the next 10 years to change everything you know, because that's scary. So what we try to do is break it up in smaller parts and say, okay, we want to do this little experiment around testing how we can maybe tokenize sustainable infrastructure and see how that works for the coming 6 months or for the coming year. And then that really helps to manage the project, of course, but also to manage the funding. And what we try to do there is not only fund in terms of money, in euros, but also fund in expertise, in contacts, in giving them access to our own expertise and our own network, which of course is quite big because we're a big pension service provider. And we think this really helps us to innovate ourselves. So last point I want to make is we're not a corporate VC. So we're not focusing on exits or creating euro value. We, of course, as a pension fund manager, have private equity firms and hedge fund doing that part of us. So that's not what we do. So if you want to work with APG directly, we're always for strategic partnerships, looking to create business value directly for our business. But of course, we can bring you in contact with players that maybe have a bit more money, are in it for the exit, and are totally straight about that. So what we also provide is our network and the ecosystem we try to build at the campus in Heerlen, where not only we, but a great range of other companies, startups, organizations try to work together, try to innovate together. So that's where you also find other customers, other launching customers, maybe also other expertise that you need for your project. So this is what we also try to provide for the parties we work with. Well, this is a little picture of companies involved in the campus in Heerlen. So what you see is a good combination of international, local, tech, government. Well, we try to really build a broad-ranged ecosystem around blockchain, AI, and climate change. So, for the hackathon, and for the period after that, but maybe the speaker after me, Joris, which we work with now, can elaborate a bit more on that. Have fun, because that's what we like to do. Explain the business value of what you're trying to do, because to us that's the most important thing. So don't go only and build a very nice blockchain prototype without a story around why it's valuable to us, and show how you want to move forward. So see the end of the hackathon as a mini stage gate where you can tell your story and we can see how we can move forward together. And a bit of advice from my personal view, please be patient with us, because as you can imagine, being a big corporate, we can sometimes move very fast, and we can sometimes move very slow. And also for me and the people in the innovation department, it's not always clear on what parts we can move very fast and on what parts we can move very slow. But in working together with 3 teams, the 3 winning teams of last year's hackathon, I learned a lot. And I think they also did on how to work together, being a startup, or not only a startup, but being a company that wants to co-create something. Yeah, you have to find out quite a lot. And my advice would be to do this together, because that's what we put on the table, an open invitation to work with us. And I think that's the story. And if there's any questions, then please ask them now. And otherwise, see you at the hackathon.
Thank you, Hidde. So, I get to ask the first question. So, what is the? Can you think of one eye opener you had in the after the hackathon when you worked with the 3 teams that really made kind of a breakthrough moment possible?
Yeah, that's the part about being a team together, because what I think is really what's really special that we achieved a team going together towards a joint goal without being able to make out what the background of somebody is. So if somebody's from a startup or the insurance company within APG or the group legal department, so everyone works together, and that's there. It's really important to have that goal, that vision, the why of the team. So that's why we think that's important, and well, it was an eye-opener for me that you can really achieve that.
Yeah, cool. So, any questions?
Hello, my name is Raymond van der Klein. So what ritual do you have in place to really have a team be born? Because first you are an employee, and you're a project manager, or a product manager, or an accountant, and then you're suddenly a team. So what do you kind of build in that really people acknowledge, like, fuck, we're now really a new team on a mission? Sorry about that word.
Thanks.
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and that's also where we learned a lot during the last few years that we have this innovation department, and we really put an emphasis on coaching. So every team gets a coach, only focusing on process, but also on team building, and the coach has different tools to achieve this team effect. Having an audacious goal really helps. So trying to change the world. But also having clear roles within the team, being very straightforward about everybody's intentions, but for example, also how much time somebody has to put in a project. Because if you're a project manager with your own projects, then you can't spend 5 days a week on an innovation experiment. So being very honest, I think those are ingredients to get to this team. And it's not every team that achieves this, of course.
Yeah, I think it's also if you get a startup, when you go to the notary and when you sign up the contract, and then you're suddenly co-founders and have a company together. I think also that's what Raimo is referring to, is to really think about rituals. Not cosmetics, of course, but stuff you can do to celebrate. Fuck, we are a team now. We're in this together, and we're going to do this and celebrate that. So if we launch, for instance, a ship, when it goes to the water, we crack open a bottle against it. I think it's also about things like that. But it's something to keep in mind. Also, when you, for instance, decide to apply for the hackathon, or when you enter the hackathon grid or something like that. So I saw another hand over there, so I'll throw this carefully. Yep.
Hi, is this working? Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Hessel van Oorschot, founder of New Media Squad. A couple of weeks ago, I asked a similar question to the Toyota Innovation Center, which is a global innovation team to help blockchain experts to get there. And the simple question was, if you are an organization like Toyota, or if you're an organization like APG with billions to safeguard and to look after and to make more profitable, do you also put your mouth or your money where your mouth is? Because this is about, of course, people innovating, but I said to Toyota, why don't you put like a few $100 million and really become the blockchain experts globally for self-driving cars or artificial intelligence or whatever. I know that APG did something for the music industry many years ago, and they put $500 million into buying music assets, and they made a good profit. So would APG be interested in doing something similar and spend like $500 million in blockchain on a global level and show that you are one of the largest pension funds in the world and that you're serious about the topic?
I'm from the innovation department, so yes. Yes, we should, of course. But you can have really interesting talks with people within APG about innovation and technological advancement and the way that impacts the way we invest. So that's no obligation whatsoever on our part, but you can have some very nice conversations, because there's indeed a lot of interest at stake. But that conversation about putting really the money where your mouth is actually not up to us, but up to the pension funds, because in the end they decide where the money goes. So I think that again is important to notice, that as APG we're managing the money. So for us, it's really important to safeguard it. But decisions on where the money goes is not up to us. Right. But there's very knowledgeable people that you can have nice talks with.
Right. More questions? Look around. Nope. Thank you, Hidde.